Well, hello. I'm going to do a series of videos outlining and reviewing some of the lessons that we've had in class, particularly as it pertains to animating in Photoshop. Even though I am doing this, after you view the videos, if you still have questions, please do not hesitate to call me, text me, email me, or speak to me in person. I'm happy to go over this material. I can meet with you face to face in class or in Zoom. So any of those three are fine. Face to face outside of class, or on Zoom outside of class, and of course in class. Okay, but I'm here to help. All right, let us begin. So I'm showing you my desktop because I want to remind you that I started off with the document titled Still 11. You have a series of stills that I gave you from the survival kit for animators. You also have the link to the entire book. So I used Still 11 to start with. If you wanted to use a different one, you really can. You have complete freedom. I'm just wanting to teach you a couple of technique and skills, and then move that information as you're working into the principles and elements of art and design. So let's go through it. So I'm going to right-click over the Still 11 document that's on my desktop, and I'm going to open it in Photoshop, okay? So I'm opening that up now. And minimize this, and you can see that it's here. Now I'm actually going to create a new document. I'm going to go to Photoshop, File, New, and I'm going to click on one of the presets that Photoshop has titled Film and Video. Okay, and I'm going to use 1080p just because I can, right? So there I am in Photoshop, and I have a nice new document that's set up for animating or for film. And it has title safe, and that's why you see these blue bars here, or they're for title saved. Now, I'm going to bring the image in here simply by clicking on it on my desktop and dropping it in. Now, when we see those, that sort of X across the image, it just means I'm going to hit the return key to hit place. Okay. Now, when you look at the layer here, right? So these are my layers. I can see that it's a smart file, a smart document, or a smart layer rather. And I don't really want a smart layer right now. So I'm going to right click over it and hit and select rasterize layer. Now I'm going to minimize my face because you've seen me enough, I think, and I want to not have any obstructions from you seeing the tools and the effects. So I'm going to just move this up here for now so that you can see this. Now, the timeline is already here. I'm not going to use that right away, but the timeline is there, and remember, it's under Windows timeline if your timeline isn't showing. For now, I'm just going to work on separating these stills so that I can get them together and animate them. All right, so I'm using my navigation tool just so I can zoom in and see a little bit better, because I want to isolate these right now. And I can use different selection tools to do this, but in truth, I'm probably just going to use, see how I click and hold here where you see the circle? I'm going to use the rectangular marquee tool. I could have used the polygonal lasso. I could have used a few things, but I'm going to choose to click and hold and use the rectangular tool. Now, while I'm doing this, first just watch what I'm doing, then next I'll show you what else to watch. But first I'm just going to click and drag my hand across. I'm really trying to get some of the line up and down because those are the lines of contact. So with that done, I'm going to right click so that I can say layer via copy. Layer via copy allows me to copy the image without deleting where the image is on the original that I put in. And so that's why I chose it. I just enjoy it that way. So I'm gonna hide the new layer. And before I do, why don't I call it number 5? Just because it will be the 5th movement. So there's 5 frames. So I'm going to go back to the still 11, and that's very important that you remember what layer you're on. I'm going back to still 11 because I need to do this one, and actually I'm going to, I guess it came out okay. So with that, I'm going to right click and say layer via copy. So now, and I'm going to go ahead and title it 4. So now you can see I have 4 layer and I have 5 layer, right? So I'm calling this movement 5 because it's the last movement, and this one 4 because it came right before it. This is the still where I'm getting it from. This is the layer I'm getting from. Notice that I have to click on that layer if I'm going to do something to it, because I won't do it on the right layer unless I click on it. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing I did before with my selection tool. I'm going to select over the whole area that I want to copy. I'm going to right click and go layer via copy. So therefore, we'll see I have another layer. And again, I'm calling that one 3. Okay. Now I click back on the still 11 because I have to make sure I'm on the right layer when I'm doing this. Okay. So now I selected this. Looks like I got the toe a little bit, the heel a little bit out. And I'm going to say layer via copy, and I'm going to call this one 2, right? And I'm going to hide that one, and I'm going to hide this one. And I'm going to do the last one, which is here. Now see how I got a little bit of the foot? It's really okay. I can erase all of that. Okay, so I'm not worried. Layer via copy. Okay, so now let's go through what we have. On layer 1, we can see what that is. Then you see my layer 2. Then you see my layer 3. And then you see my layer 4. And then you see my layer 5, right? So all of these layers now have a different movement of this one figure, okay? Now, remember what we just did was we separated them and copied them from the main, right? So when we first brought this in, all of these layers, all of these movements or movements of this character was all on one layer. And then we took them out to separate them. We selected and layer via cut so we could separate them, okay? The next video will show me animating this, okay?